From the National Newsroom of the Canadian Press, I'm Rob Westgate. Air Canada has announced that flights are expected to resume later today at 2 p.m. Toronto time after Ottawa ordered it and its striking flight attendants into binding arbitration. The latest development coming some 24 hours after the national air carrier's fleet of planes were grounded and the company's disgruntled flight attendants set out to walk the picket lines. Thousands of travelers have been left stranded and scrambling for alternatives. Earlier, the air carrier had warned it could take up to 10 days until operations return to normal. Economists will be looking for signs of U.S. tariff impacts when Statistics Canada publishes July inflation data this week. A poll of economists heading into Tuesday's release expects the annual inflation rate slowed 2 ticks to 1.7% last month. Desjardins economist Randall Bartlett says tariffs likely kept inflation higher for food and durable goods, but lower energy prices will be a drag on the headline figure.
We're kind of expecting it to be a bit softer than what we saw back in June. So from a headline perspective, anyway. So that's overall pretty positive news for Canadians.
Bartlett says underlying inflation might have been a little stickier in July, and the Bank of Canada will need to see more easing before it feels comfortable in cutting interest rates once again. A quick check on the Atlantic Canada wildfire situation. An evacuation alert for thousands in and around the St. John's, Newfoundland area has been ended after weather conditions have improved. Officials say that means cooler temperatures and moderate amounts of rain. Meanwhile, in Nova Scotia, an out-of-control wildfire continues to burn in Annapolis County, about 135 kilometers northwest of Halifax. The so-called Long Lake Fire has consumed roughly 8 square kilometers of tinder-dry brushland. And in northern New Brunswick, a wildfire north of Miramichi prompted officials Friday night to ask the community of La Villette to be prepared to evacuate on short notice. After a high-stakes summit with Russia's Vladimir Putin, U.S. President Donald Trump is set to welcome Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky to Washington on Monday in order to discuss the summit. Reporter Johnny Fernandez says tomorrow's meeting could include discussions on Ukrainian territory.
Russia continues to control about 20% of Ukraine. Sources tell ABC News Putin is demanding Kyiv surrender the Donetsk region in exchange for stopping offenses elsewhere and promising to halt further attacks. Those sources say President Trump relayed that message to Zelensky and European leaders, who pushed back, insisting Ukraine should not be forced to give up land.
Meanwhile, Russia continues its military actions in Ukraine, making slow advances on the battlefield, despite the summit slogan of pursuing peace. And finally, a magnitude 5.8 undersea earthquake shook the eastern side of Indonesia this morning, injuring as many as 29 people. No tsunami warning has been issued. This is the Canadian Press. In sports, starting off this update with the CFL, where the Montreal Alouettes fell 36-18 to the BC Lions, losing another quarterback in the process. Caleb Evans connected on 3 of 4 passing attempts for 32 yards and was sacked 3 times before leaving the game with an apparent leg injury in the second quarter. Meanwhile, Saskatchewan QB Trevor Harris completed 20 of 26 passes for 298 yards and 3 touchdowns as the Rough Riders beat the Hamilton Tiger Cats 29-9. Over to the MLB now. Miles Straw following an early 3-run homer with a 2-run shot for his first career multi-homer game as the Toronto Blue Jays throttled the Texas Rangers 14-2. Elsewhere, the Boston Red Sox held off the visiting Miami Marlins 7-5, and Detroit beat Minnesota 8-5. Finally, in MLS action, Toronto FC posted a 1-1 draw with Columbus, while CF Montreal settled for a 1-1 draw of their own against DC United. From the Canadian Press, I'm Rob Westgate.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to follow and subscribe. For more of today's top stories, visit thecanadianpressnews.ca.